dəqiqə. Hazırda.
Salam, hörmətli həmvətənlərimiz. Biz indi Brüsseldə pres konferansiyadayıq. Emin Hüseynov və mən. Arif Məmmədov da gəlməliydi. Gəlmədi. Səbəblərini mən bilmirəm, Emin bilir. Yəni o bu günlərdə biz çalışırıq ki, Avropa Şurasında, Avropa Parlamentində, Avropada və Amerikada Azərbaycan hakimiyyətinin Azərbaycan xalqına və Azərbaycana qarşı etdiyi cinayətlərin üstünü açaq. Nəticələrini də görürsünüz. Yəni, boşa getmir. Artıq Səməd Seyidov geri qaytarıldı və siyahı hazırlanıb konqresdə, Freedom House-da. Bunun da nəticələrini tezliklə biz görəcəyik. Buyurun Emin bəy.
Biz indi başlayırıq. Təəssüflər olsun ki, ilkin başlanğıcda biz çox güman ki, İngiliscə danışacağıq. Ona görə hamıdan artıq dərəcədə
üzr istəyirik ki, biz İngiliscə danışacağıq burada.
Amma sonra bizim konfrans Azərbaycanca davam edəcək. Yəni, mənə elə gəlir ki, Azərbaycan İngilis dilini bilməyənlər də
sonra bunun tərcümə kimi, olduğu kimi olmasa da tərcümə kimi sizə çatdıracağıq ki, nə baş verir, vəziyyət necədir.
Və mənə elə gəlir ki, açıq-aşkar hər şeyi aydın olacaq.
Bəli.
Burada artıq cəmaat qoşulur.
Pres klubdayıq, Brüssel şəhərində.
Mənə elə gəlir ki, indi səsi də əlavə edirik və
səs necə gəlir dostlar? Xahiş edirəm, səsi bizə. Səs yaxşı gəlirmi?
Bizdə bir dənə sən səsi yoxla, zəhmət olmasını izlənməlidir.
Səs gəlir?
İndi hər şey.
Səs olmalıdır indi.
İndi səs olacaq və məncə biz başlaya bilərik.
Başlayaq.
We just try to connect because some people wait for the live stream. We just check the voice.
Okay.
Because Azerbaijani media not able to come. We have very funny situation in country when all press rooms or press centers close.
For the society.
Nobody able to organize.
You can see one person in our televisions. It's only İlham Aliyev and his father.
Mikrofonla konuşacağıq və birazdan bizdə. Hi, welcome.
Hi.
We just checked live stream.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining to our conference. Again, we make in the very short notice, but this day is very important for all Azerbaijani civil society, for all Azerbaijani democratic opposition, because today is 100 years since Azerbaijan Democratic Republic established by Emin Rasulzadeh and much more brave people like him. Unfortunately, after 100 years, we don't have any more even same level of democracy which is we have 100 years ago, but we'll talk about this later. I just want to introduce myself and my colleague Orduxan Temirxan. Orduxan Temirxan is very well-known political activist and civil society activist. He's also a famous video blogger, one of the well-known critical voices in Azerbaijani online environment. He lives in Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and last 10 years he's from exile, tried to help to us and colleagues which still continue to work in very difficult conditions in Azerbaijan. As myself, I'm also based in exile last already 3 years here in Europe. I'm living in Geneva, Switzerland. My name is Emin Hüseynov. I'm chairman of Institute for Reporters, Freedom and Safety. This is Azerbaijani free press organizations which has protected journalists, critical voices, which is under pressure by Aliyev's regime. And today, again, I just want to start. Unfortunately, we don't have our certain guest. He's wrote us for, probably is not able to join for some reason. Let's see, we wait if he comes. He said he tried to come, but if he's not able to come, we continue by ourselves. And
you can join us later on if
and we have colleagues from Civil Society Forum, Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum. They also have his statement. And again, let's start to just talk about today's topics. As I said before, 100 years ago, Azerbaijan people established first democratic Muslim state in oriental part of the world. And this is country which is give first Muslim state which is give voting rights to women, which is approved like equal rights. And our independence continued 2 years, and after 2 years, Azerbaijan occupied by Soviet army, and 75 years we live in under Soviet occupation, and since from 91 we are recovered our independence again. But again, if you see who is come to ruling floor, they are same communist elite, like former KGB general and first secretary of Azerbaijan Heydar Aliyev, which is stay on the ruling floor since from 1969, with very short break between 89 and 91. This person, KGB general, able to come back to power, and this we have the same trends which is most of the Central Asian states like Kazakhstan have, when former Soviet bosses just change his name and say named like presidents of independent states. But compared with Kazakhstan and Central Asia states, Azerbaijan until today, since from 2001, as like Georgia, Armenia, Russia, and Ukraine, we are members of Council of Europe, and we are part of the European Eastern Partnership Program. And right now, Azerbaijan government tried to use the opportunities and sign special strategical deal, which is nobody from civil society even understand about what this is deal, because compared with our neighbors like Georgia, Ukraine, Moldova, or even Armenia, when civil society involved to this negotiation process as like one of the stakeholder, unfortunately in Azerbaijan we have only two stakeholders: ruling regime in Azerbaijan and European Commission. That it means from all other stakeholders not participated in this process. Maybe most of you says you have a parliament which is also part of the Euronest, which is also negotiated with his colleagues from European Parliament, and just a few weeks ago delegation from European Parliament come to Azerbaijan, meet with President of Azerbaijan and his colleagues, try to negotiate it. Special rapporteur MP from Romania. She is also meet with Aliyev like separately. She is represented herself like this is not like official visit, this is private visit, and again she don't meet with our colleagues when she's there. But no one from democratic opposition, no one from independent civil society participate in this important negotiation process because we strongly believe for without part of the human rights and democracy, all potential agreements, it's not for Azerbaijani people. This is against Azerbaijani people because ruling regime tried to use European Union as like biggest donor. They look to you guys like to cash machine, which is on the a bit difficult economic situation, one of the serious sources to provide institutional support for Aliyev oil and gas economy. And we welcome recent statement by European Parliament when a group of European Parliament says for without strong commitments and obligations and respect to human rights, they are not safe or it's possible to ratify any potential agreement. Doesn't matter how it's named, strategical agreement or associative agreement, doesn't matter, but they say clearly for Azerbaijani government for you must respect our European values, our standards with democracy and human rights. Unfortunately, we didn't see same reactions by the Azerbaijani government. A week ago, our Minister of Foreign Affairs came to Brussels for next negotiation process. They meet with Federica Mogherini. Again, nobody knows what they are talking about. Just one thing is what we are seeing, how they make very friendly handshake. Even they say again to both of them, like Federica, she said to him like, Elmar, how are you? It's like all good friends see each other each second month, and this process named like negotiation for strategical agreement. And we don't understand how it's possible talking about legitimate agreement when civil society not participated in this process, when human rights under serious restrictions, when civil society is not able to continue its most important role. And last, what we think, we also want to criticize a bit positions from head of the European Council, Mr. Donald Tusk, which is just few days after presidential elections, sent to Mr. Aliyev very friendly letter when he says again, it's first, maybe Mr. Tusk sent single letter which looks very positive, and when it looks like one friend congratulated another. They say for their friend Ilham, I'm very happy for you are re-elected again for fourth presidential terms. And again, for me as like a civil society which is strongly to observe with which kind of violations continue this process, we are believe for our positions just only shaming and blaming European officials, which is try to show him for their respecting, because we understand all political realities here in Europe. We understand for Europe also looks for make his energy diversification policy and make less dependence from energy resources from Russia. We understand also for we don't have any other alternative like trade partner as like European Union, because European Union today is our biggest trade partners. But on the same time, we know for EU have his values, his obligation and commitments, which is they must respect the values by himself first, and after says to Aliyev, which is continued to use many hundreds of people as like political hostages for this negotiation process, according to his dirty interests. And we want to remind again to all of you, for every week all European media publish new and new articles about money laundering, about corruptions which is involved high-level officials, including president and his family members. And we are a bit surprised for Aliyev, again welcomed by European leaders. His wife, Ms. Mehriban Aliyev, recently returned from Paris, and Macron's administration makes statement for they are prepared for visit of Aliyev in June, and this is shocking for us, for European leaders. One of the progressive European leader, Emmanuel Macron, hosted Azerbaijani dictator in his own palace. That is, again, we try to call to our civil society partners, to Reporters Without Borders, to all other French-based and Brussels-based human rights organizations. For guys, let's try to make some kind of actions against this visit, because this is first visit of Aliyev after his first presidential terms, and this is clear for Aliyev. Don't make even one positive step. If before, here, like 2 months ago, when we meet with several stakeholders, including from EU and from European Parliament, they said, let's looking forward. Aliyev promises to us release the people in the 100 years anniversary from Azerbaijan Democratic Republic. They say, they lie again to Council of Europe leadership, to Mr. Jagland, and we know for they have a big hopes for Ilgar Mammadov, which is 5 years sit in the prison because this person criticized nepotism and kleptocracy in Azerbaijan, which is one of the presidential candidates, which is have clear case by European courts for human rights. They still sit in prison until today. And Azerbaijani government tried to lie and manipulate with fake hopes, promises, with Europeans and with Americans to just say, for guys, give us time, don't push us strongly. After presidential elections, probably we are organized amnesty and pardoning act, but nothing happened. Just like one few political prisoners released, but in case if we see we have more than 145 political prisoners, on the last pardoning act released approximately 12 persons, and most of them should be sit in the prison few months. So just they play with statistics. They say for even they not released, probably after 2 or 3 months they finalize his imprisonment period. That is again our important role today. Says to Europe, please stop belief to Aliyev's promises. And my main message to European officials, to European commissions, including to Council of Europe, first, European Union and European Parliament must start to stop this procedure with negotiations and not continue any steps until all political prisoners in Azerbaijan not released, until dozens of people from human rights community, which is like famous human rights defenders, famous journalists, not able to leave the country. They have travel bans. Some of them even not able to go and take like medical treatments for himself or his relatives. And this is very anti-humanitarian situation when people which is don't make any crime, they are stay in the country like hostages. Women and men, it doesn't matter, they don't care about gender issues, they don't care which is who is old one, which is sick one. They arrested people. Some of them released, one person for example, released not for humanitarian position of Aliyev, because it's probably he died after a few months, they have cancer. and they release him. He must be released him like 3-4 years ago because he have a cancer in the prison. But he released just for simply dying after a couple of months. And again, I want to give the floor to my colleague Orduxan. They say about recent development, what's happened with exile-based democratic community and our colleague inside the country, because most of his relatives under pressure. And please, Orduxan, just take the floor.
Okay.
Please use the mic because we have a live stream.
Okay. First of all, I welcome all of you to visit our press conference, and then after I want to congratulate my nation, Azerbaijan, with 100 years of independence, because 1918, 28th of May, we got our independence, and Mehmet Emin Resulzade and his colleagues all together, they have established our Republic of Azerbaijan, Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan. And I want to say one thing, that first Eastern European country, mostly population was Muslim, and this established republic was given rights to the women who could vote at the elections, republic elections. So this means we have lost all of our values the last 25 years. Even before this dictatorship of Aliyev's, we had 75 years of Soviet regime, the communist regime. We had more rights even that time than last 25 years. Our prisons are full of political prisoners, and even people who get just jailed for nothing, with false accusations and drug stealing and drugs using, and even many more things that they have not committed crime. They just get to prison, because after that they extort the officials, the police and the prison management and the government. They just demand money from these people, because in the prisons they don't get food. So your family must bring you to eat, and even they bring food to his relative to the prison, he has to pay some money to the prison guards to get the food to the prisoners. Can you imagine? This kind of conditions in my country today, supported by the European Union and the most of democratic countries. Can you imagine? French judge said Ilham Aliyev is a dictator, because two journalists, French journalists, said, Ilham Aliyev, you are a dictator. And he started suing the journalist in France. And the journalist has won the case. And now Macron is inviting the dictator to talk. And the dictator who just last year nominated his wife first vice president. Just like that. And the values of European Union is zero for me, because Aliyev is not only dangerous and danger for Azerbaijan with his corruption chain work, and he has got corruption all over in the world, and the European Union is also in danger because of this corruption, and he's bribing the European officials, European Council and European parliamentaries, and the European countries support this dictator. In the same time, we have political prisoners, Ilgar Mammadov, and I have here many names, and Giyas Ibrahim, Bayram Mammadov, Güzel Bayramlı, Elmar Novruz Mammadov, And this kind of people are sitting in prison for nothing because they wanted freedom and better future for their country. We have a lot of problems in Azerbaijan. Even the people who abroad fight against this dictator get an asylum in the European countries, and their families get arrested and they are under threat. For example, my family was arrested 3, 4, 5 times. Even 12 members of my family got arrested in one night. 2 years of child. And one of my nephews are still in prison for nothing. 2 months. For nothing. Because they say if your uncle will continue pushing the European Union and the democratic countries to get some sanctions against this dictator, and they put to jail my family. Emin Hüseynov's brother, blogger Emin Hüseynov, is in jail for nothing. Can you imagine? He was making films about the officials, ministers, and some less official people than ministers, how they are corrupt, how they steal money from government. And he was making movies about their villas, about their houses, businesses, and he got just 1.5 years imprisonment for this. And the European Union is supporting these guys. We are demanding from European Union honest attention from European Union. Just appeal some sanctions against this corrupt dictator. How long will it continue? We are screaming. We are saying that the European Union must stop dealing, stop making any business with the dictator, and they don't hear us. We say the situation in Azerbaijan is very dangerous. Aliyev can make the same situation in Azerbaijan like in Syria, and nobody is hearing us. Nobody is taking it serious. The situation is really very, very dangerous in Azerbaijan. And why the European Union and the democratic countries are keeping silent and they don't see this? Because of oil? Because of money? What about the democracy? What about the European values that you have? And the parents and your grandfathers, grandmothers has created democracy in Europe. And why? You are selling, the Europeans are selling our democracy, our human rights for money? I think the European Union has enough money. They don't need Aliyev's money to get better life or better future for European Union. Now the time for Azerbaijani people to taste the real democracy, not blah blah blah, but the real democracy in Azerbaijan. And we are in the European Union, the refugees, the political refugees from Aliyev's regime, we are screaming to the European countries and to the European organizations, please attention. And nobody is taking attention. How long will it continue? What's the next? Aliyev is bribing the European countries? And he is danger. He is a danger for the European Union, for this world. How many Aliyevs you will create more in the world? My best colleagues in European Union. I think I am just demanding from the democratic countries and democratic people who is not working and making deals with Aliyev only for money, but the real democracy and human rights in the world. And I just want to say thank you for the people who is really working on this corruption scandal in Azerbaijan and in the European Union. As you know, that it's not only the the people who really connected with corruption, but there are still many more people who really fight against the corruption. You know that in the European Council they have made an investigation, 200 pages, about the 3 billion euros that Aliyev and his colleagues and these corrupt officials and deputies has given to the European deputies and to the European officials like Argamont and all the corrupt people. Emin Hüseynov has already said it. But one of Aliyev's deputy, Samet Seyidov, has turned back to Azerbaijan and has taken the mandate of being a member in the European Council. So I think on this corruption scandal case will be many more achievements, positive achievements, because as many corrupt officials you have in Europe, but I hope and I know 100% that many more people who wants to stop this despot Aliyev from corrupting the European Union and doing these criminal activities in European Union, even in America. Because last month I was in Congress and with briefing, and there must be a hearing. Can you imagine? There must be a hearing from Congress, and they have paid for some Jewish lobbies, many millions, to change the hearing to briefing. Can you imagine? And we came with Emin Milli, the Meydan TV director, to Congress in Washington, and they said it's a briefing. But anyway, we have made our speech, and they have established a list of corrupt officials in Azerbaijan, and who got imprisoned and whose family was tortured and who got tortured by the officials in prisons. So we are trying to achieve our goal against the dictator, and I am trying to thank all of these people who is trying to help us in this difficult situation to get Azerbaijan from the hands of this dictator and to get democratic country like 100 years ago established our parents. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you, Orduxan. We have our colleagues from Civil Society Forum, Eastern Democratic Civil Society Forum. Please take the floor and present your statement. And please introduce yourself.
First of all, thank you very much, IRFS, for giving us the floor to present this statement. My name is Eduardo García Cancela. I represent the Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum. Our steering committee, which is the major decision-making body in our organization, addressed a statement to Azerbaijani authorities, but as well to EU stakeholders, as well as other international stakeholders. Basically, we regret the failure of the Azerbaijani authorities to take any meaningful steps to restore democracy in the country in order to commemorate this centenary of the Azerbaijan Democratic Republic, which, as well as it was said before, it was actually the first republic in the Islamic world that enhanced democracy in 1918.
That's right.
The Pardon Act declared by the authorities in Azerbaijan on this anniversary fell far short from our expectations in a government that, in any case, don't want to give a signal to reestablish democracy in Azerbaijan. And this is especially a concern in anticipation of the comprehensive agreement currently being negotiated with the European Union. Anyway, we also welcome and echo the words addressed by the European Parliament in this draft report on recommendations for the negotiations on the EU-Azerbaijan Comprehensive Agreement. The European Parliament calls for the release of political prisoners and prisoners of conscience. They name several most emblematic cases as well: Ilgar Mammadov, Afgan Mukhtarli, and other very prominent names of activists. They also call for the lifting of travel bans for those prisoners already released, and of course the full implementation of the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights, and for the facilitation of the life of the families of those prisoners as well, and people that are currently outside of the country, as we just saw. The Steering Committee of the Eastern Partner Civil Society Forum regrets as well in this statement. We wanted to include this detention of 3 activists from the Popular Front Party of Azerbaijan that happened in a public rally to celebrate actually this anniversary, which is kind of ironic because they were celebrating the establishment of a democratic republic and they are detained by this reason. And as well as it was noted by Orduxan, we denounced this Azerbaijani authorities' effort to undermine the democratic institutions in Europe with these corruption cases, such as in the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe and as well in the OSCE. And our Steering Committee wants to send a strong message that after all these things that are happening, we firmly hope that, and it's our firm belief, that the time will come when the democratic aspirations of an independent Azerbaijan, those promulgated in 1918, will once again be respected, political prisoners will be released, and the rule of law will be reestablished in the country. If you want to have access to this statement, it's already published on our website. It's www.ep-csf.eu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your statement, and again, we are strongly support this statement and completely agree with each point, and we again want to say something to all of these stakeholders, which is named like for Ilham Aliyev. Ilham Aliyev tried to participate in all important European meetings, but they are, at the same time they are not respect these values, and they tried to blaming Azerbaijani opposition or civil society for we are not clear. Recently there happened a new case against democratic opposition where they say they received some kind of funds from outside of Azerbaijan, which is looks like on the same case with civil society when they say we are paid by the European institutions, by the US State Department, for we are like foreign agent which is received money, didn't pay taxes, we are make like abuse of power, we make illegal commercial activities. This same story continued, and now we always remind to the Azerbaijani authorities they signed his obligations since from 2001 when Azerbaijan only joined to Council of Europe. After we joined to Eastern Partnership Program to EU, and this is choice by this current ruling regime. It is not choice by any other political power. This is regime which has signed all of this document, and this is regime must be respect them. Against with the civil society position, we just say want to remind to European lawmakers, to all other stakeholders, so it's time to make sanctions against Aliyev government, because sometimes we understand position of international civil society community. They try to believe until last moment for Aliyev probably release the people and problem is done. But that never happened. They release one person, but
and they get 3 more.
Yeah, they get 3 more. It's like revolving door, triple revolving doors. They are
just last 3 days. Just last 3 days.
And
they got 12 people out and they get 20 people in.
after this pardoning act, I received the calls with congratulations from international organizations. Oh man, your brother released and other people released. Hey guys, who told you? And you know, I received this congratulation not only 2 days ago. I received congratulations from my European civil society partners and from some MPs from European Parliament and members of Council of Europe, or even members of Parliamentary Assembly from OEC for no worries, Emin. And leave promises to us for their release, high level, like or well-known people as soon as possible. And they
For
give,
example,
and they give us 2 days. They say for half of them release for Haydar Aliyev birthday for 10 May, another half release for 28th of May. I told to all Europeans, guys, don't be naive. Don't be naive. I know my head of the state very well. I know his dad very well. I know this ruling family very well. Since from 1969, 10 years before I'm born, they are already started this dirty business in the country. It's approximately 45 years, which is the same family, same.
49.
Not just questions like continue develop with the topics of Orduxan. They don't make anything like what is make Bashar Assad. They also received ruling power from his father, and the same period. But now it's new trend when maybe this Europeans also say, look what's happened. Trump already meet with Kim Jong-un. Its trends has changed. They need to denuclearization, but Azerbaijan is not nuclear.
No headlines for Azerbaijan.
It's not nuclear state like even like Iran. We are part of the Council of Europe. That is clear. We say for it's wrong when we compare Azerbaijan with Iran. It's wrong when we compare Azerbaijan with Syria. It's wrong when we compare Azerbaijan with North Korea or Cuba, because all of the states, I understand for human rights issues is not part of the one single state. It is a global problem, and all UN member states, all other international organizations should be react to violation in North Korea, in Syria. But we just try to say it here because in 1 hour we just want to remind again we are members of Council of Europe. And Council of Europe committee ministers don't need wait like more than 2 years. 2 years is already when the European Court for Human Rights decide for Ilham Mammadov. More than 2 years. More than 2 years when the European Court for Human Rights decide for him must release, and his arrest is politically motivated. They are still in prison. All institutions, as like which is named on a civil society forum statements like OEC, AZER, UN and European Parliament, European Commission, they all know, and recent presidential election shows for these elections again continue with strong and serious violations. But today we try to use our tragic situation when our people not able to organize any press briefings or make attention in Azerbaijan. This is very difficult conditions when now we are make like live streaming and hundreds of people or journalists or civil society activists look at there. Even people in Azerbaijan, now it's very difficult condition with media freedom. They are released hundreds of people from prison and only one person which is related with freedom of expression issues. This is writers Sadeh Shakarli, but we have numbers of prisoners of conscience, more than 15% which is clearly arrested with freedom of expression issues. They are still in the prison and we can't see any hopes for the future, and we believe, we won't just remind again, Azerbaijani government don't understand hidden diplomacy. They only understand strong and aggressive diplomatic languages, which is named call for sanctions. It's not time from European lawmakers remind to Aliyev about sanctions. That's time for Council of Europe Parliamentary Assembly remind to Aliyev regime about sanctions, Azerbaijan delegation should leave, at least they need to lose voting rights. It's like first steps of the sanctions. And again, we are wanted thanks to Secretary General for this initiated two procedure, which is first time in Azerbaijan, in whole Council of Europe story, when country day by day going for procedure which is potential. After a few periods, countries leave this institution if they are not implementing its obligation. But we try to call you, as soon as Azerbaijan leave Council of Europe, and I want to say clearly, kicked out for unrespect to European values, to the values of Council of Europe, it's better to Azerbaijani people. Now we say, as like human rights defenders, as like journalists, as like political activists, for its time, to Azerbaijani people lost all the hopes, because people have the fake hopes for Europe take care all of his problem, and as soon Europe finds solution for himself. And they believe, because all of Azerbaijani people clearly read the Convention of European Human Rights Convention, which is named for all the rights protected, and they believe to European Court for Human Rights, but now their mechanisms doesn't work. People don't release, people still arrested, and since when Azerbaijan people understand for everything defended by his own will, they should be fight for his freedom by himself without any kind of European support or Council of Europe support, we believe our nations have the chance to have access with this fighting for democracy and human rights. We understand that this is a long process, but we believe for this possible. And if you have anything for finalizations, I think we already, after 2 minutes, we must finalize.
I just want to add a few things more about the sanctions, why the European Union and the other countries must apply sanctions against Aliyev's regime. And for example, everybody knows that in the European countries, most Western European countries, we have thousands, around 570 or 600,000 refugees. And 90% of these refugees are, even 95% are political refugees. Am I right, Emin? Yeah. Political refugees. And they get, here in European Union, they get asylum here, and they get work permit and permit to stay, because the European Union and the European countries have recognized Aliyev's government as a regime. So what kind of play is this? In one hand, they receive people from Azerbaijan as a political refugees, and they can stay here, they are recognized as a political refugee. And in the other hand, they invite the dictator to the European Union to deal, to make some kind of relationship, or it doesn't matter, it's a business relationship or political relationship. With the political relationship, they can stay actually working together, because if you 100% ignore this dictator, he will make many more problems for his own country and for the European Union and for the Western countries. For example, many years ago, they ignored Saddam Hussein and got a war. So we are demanding from the European leaders to stop doing business like sanctions must be applied for money that they are laundering in European Union, in the offshore companies, in America. So politically they can stay in touch with this dictator, because this is a diplomacy. There is only one pressure you can seriously put on Aliyev, only make sanctions against his businesses and his corrupt officials, corrupt government. They can't
launder their money in the European countries and in other countries, and they can't enter, even their family members can't enter to the European Union and to the democratic countries, because this is abusing the European democratic values. I think we don't demand from the European countries stop political connections with Aliyev. Of course, you have to stay in the connection with this dictator to work together to maybe get better life in Azerbaijan and to change the point of view of Aliyev. Of course, I'm sure 100% it wouldn't happen. Aliyev is not one of the guys who will say, okay, I have made many mistakes, sorry, I'm leaving now, the government belongs to the people now, get some free elections, democratic elections. It will not happen. He is not better than Assad. But still, if the sanctions will be applied against Aliyev and on his officials, say the ministers and other people, it will work. Believe me, if you take money from Aliyev, he will work and he will do things what the European Union demands and what the people of Azerbaijan demand. Now I think the European Union is not interested with talking with Aliyev as long as they take money from Azerbaijan and they are happy. And Aliyev is pushing on the people. Okay, I just wanted to add this. Sorry.
If you have any additional points, if it's not, I think let's time, because we should stop now.
Okay. Bağlayırıq. Məsələn, çox sağ olun dinlədiyiniz üçün.